Camera for Donny. Go for Donny. Sound for Donny. Go for Donny.
Makeup for Donny.
Go for Donny.
Medic for Donny.
Go for Donny. Grip department for Donny. Go for Donny.
Production for Donny.
Go for Donny.
Hey, Mark for Donny. Mark for Donny.
Go for Donny. Mark. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, we have Mark Jacobs here with us today on the show. How you doing, Mark?
Man, pretty good. Interesting times, that's for sure.
It sure is. But hey, guys, before that, make sure you stay tuned for Go for Donny. Switch to channel 2, where we're going to get a chance to ask our guest Mark some more questions that you, the listener, want answers to. We also have this amazing car enthusiast I keep talking about that has some insane knowledge on all types of vehicles. So he gets to ask a few questions as well from his perspective. But the catch is, Mark, that he is only 15 years old.
Wow.
So it's very exciting. It's a lot of fun. So Mark, just so everyone knows how Mark and I know each other, it's been, I think it was 2010. Was that when we worked together on Paris Hilton, My New BFF Season 2?
Yeah.
Season 2.
What a fun time that was.
Oh, man. What an amazing time working for MTV Network back then. Right?
Yeah, back then it was a lot different than it is now. That's for sure. I mean, we took a month to do that show.
Yeah.
I think they're doing those shows in a week now, if they do.
It cranks them out. Hey, do you have, you don't have headphones, do you, Mark? I mean, the technical things, the things that I have to learn being, I never thought. So when we worked together years ago, I think I was one of the production managers on that season, because I did season 1 as well.
Yeah.
So I knew Paris pretty well. But we had a good time. I mean, it was a crazy shoot. You did a lot of stuff. And so everyone knows Mark was the director on that, the amazing Paris Hilton, My New BFF Season 2. Do you remember much of it, Mark?
I remember all of it.
Oh, gosh. All right. Then please, do you have any stories from any of those kids? Because now, so those of you that you know, as a production manager on set, on a show like that, it's kind of like 24/7 because all the contestants are staying there. Obviously, Paris doesn't stay there. She stays at home. And so we have to have a presence there all the time. And there's always things happening like, I don't know, like toilets backing up, just little things like that that you have to deal with all the time. You have to keep things moving. So that was what I had to deal on my end. So what did you have to deal on your end?
Well, I like how you say keep things moving on the heels of saying toilets. When I was called to do that show, I came in for the second season because they wanted a different, thing than what I think Peter Ney did it before.
Yep.
He was the director before, did season 1. And so they called me in and I tend to do things a little bit more real in the sense of I try to fight the engine of producing as much as possible. The little notes here and there,
mm-hmm.
and just let things flow. Unfortunately, sometimes it takes a little bit longer to do that. So I was always getting pressure, taps on the shoulder. Hey, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? From the execs and that. The one story that I'll never forget is that I had Paris Hilton's mom and dad, who are executive producers on the show, sitting right next to me as I'm directing the show.
Oh.
And I won't go into what they said, but some of the things that they said were just like, what did you just say? And I'm trying to focus on, 6 cameras, all the robos, all the contestants. And I'm just like, really? Is this happening right now? And you can't say anything, right? That's what they pay us for.
Yeah.
In fact, I was just explaining last night to somebody that the one thing I don't miss about directing, because I've not directed in a while, because a lot of us have been out of work, is having to maintain composure when you're getting tapped on the shoulder constantly, you're getting bruised from those fingers, or sitting with people that really don't have a clue of what we do or how we get it done, but they're an executive on the show. And so we're paid as directors to not only do the visual and come up with, different creative ways to accomplish our common goal every single day, but you have to deal with that. And you have to deal with it in a way that's like, you just swallow your pride. You just, okay, yeah, we're going to get to that in just a second. Just give me a minute. And it's tough. And sometimes it can be interruptive of the process that you're trying to complete every time you're on set. So as little as I could be in that room, in that video village, the better for me. I'm not a director that likes to sit. I'm standing right now, in fact, talking to you, because I want to be, I'm constantly moving. I'm constantly like doing things. And so a lot of times guys will be shouldered up for, 3 to 6 hours. And because I'm also a DP and a cinematographer, and I've shot most of my life, my career,
Of course.
I can empathize with operators. I can empathize with mixers. And by the way, I just want to give props to every audio mixer out there, because this is not usually heard from a director. If it wasn't for you guys, we would not have a show.
Yeah.
Because without the audio, the visuals don't matter. You might as well just draw stick figures and hope that they get it. So
newfound respect for all audio mixes. Matter of fact, Jay, my producer for the show Go for Donny, we worked on Top Gear together, and he was an audio mixer on that. And so he's the one that got into podcasting. He produces these, so he's very anal about the audio as well. And I know why now. And I thank him so much. And I have a newfound respect for all audio mixers, especially when I was on set with a couple different walkies in my hand, trying to call action, and I look to my right and or my left, and Jay's always there with a boom mic trying to get audio, and I'm like, oh. But now I have a newfound respect for them and why they're getting that audio. So, yeah.
But I would feel bad for those operators, and I would just get up and I'd leave the video village and I'd go to an operator, and I wouldn't even tell them. I would just grab the handle on their camera when I knew that they were just getting the other side of a conversation, and lift it off, put it on my shoulder, and start shooting. And they'd look at me like,
what
are you doing? What the? And I'd say, go pee, go to Crafty, go take a break. And I would do that. I just bounce everybody around, just tap each person out. And for me, as a former operator and still an operator, that's huge. And you need those breaks. And the way that they've been kind of a little bit abusive, I'd have to say, when you get 6 hours shouldered up with a 40-pound camera on your shoulder. I know they have all the easy rigs, but those things I'm not a fan of, but I get it. But yeah, no, that's just one of many funny stories on set with Paris. I mean, Paris herself was a unique individual. I knew her very well through my friend Jesse Billauer, who I did my film on. And so we had kind of a connection through Jesse. I didn't really hang out with her, but she knew who I was. I knew who she was, obviously. But she was in a different headspace than she's in now. I have to give her props. She's such a awesome businesswoman. She's playing out the DNA that she has from her grandfather. So I'm seeing that, which is much better than the red carpet crap that she used to do and the disappearing acts during our production of that show. Where you fly, you're getting ready to leave on a Learjet. You've got the contestants, the final contestants on this Learjet to go to their hometowns, and she wants to see them. And we're there for an hour and a half sitting on the plane.
Wow.
And there's no Paris. Where's Paris? Where's Paris? Nobody can find her, period. Then all of a sudden an Escalade pulls up, and I get the call, Mark, you need to go out and talk to Paris. I get in the car, and Paris is like, hi, Mark. She's been up all night partying.
Yeah.
And she's like, just give me a few minutes. I'll be right in. What do I need to do? Look, just sit down in front of the contestants, listen to them, get excited, and then you can go in the back and sleep. Okay. I leave. She comes back in like 20 minutes later, her hair and makeup go in. She comes in like nothing. So like she's been up an hour. She's like on spot, sits in the chair, does her thing, goes in the back of the plane, puts her mask on, and she goes to sleep for the rest of the flight. And we're just like blown away that she was able to do that, especially considering she was up all night. And she has like 5 Blackberries that she's constantly texting the paparazzi to come and take pictures of her because that's their thing, right? Smart,
yeah. Branding, marketing.
And then we get to Texas. We check into the hotel and we're supposed to do this scene as soon as we get there. And there's no Paris again. Where did she go? So at that time, and I won't go into detail, but in that time, we knew we just needed to follow our nose And so that's what we did. And we discovered where she was by going in an elevator because our nose were leading us. We felt like Toucan Sam. And we found her and finished the shoot. But yeah, stuff like that.
I loved her. You know, I spent a lot of time with her from doing the first season and carrying over to the second season. And there were so many little specials that they did with her, Thanksgiving specials, and then I even helped out with the British version of my
nice.
BFF. So I mean, so I spent a lot of time with her, and I loved Paris. I mean, we had a great relationship. You know, she's very professional. I mean, I had a great time. I mean, I made blue cheese buffalo burgers up at her place one time when we were up there, just hanging out with a bunch of people. It's random, you know, but cool. Yeah, I know, right? It's like, dang, throw a little bacon on there.
Oh, blue cheese. No, I have to tell you, I agree with you. There was I think the time that she was coming out of the red carpet stuff, and she was starting to transition into her perfume and getting serious. And you could definitely see the growth just in the short time I was with her on the show.
Yeah.
Even in Vegas, you know, when we did the finale at the Hard Rock there, you know, she was on point. She was on time. She was showing up, and even that was a fun shoot as well. That was a crazy shoot. But yeah, no, she came around, you know. Prison shoot, she was good. She just had to sit on the other side of a two-way glass and watch these interrogations going on, and so it was good. It was fun.
She's cool. Matt, you speak of the Hard Rock. That was a fun shoot, but that last time I actually went and hung out with Paris, was in Las Vegas at the Hard Rock.
Oh wow!
And I was trying to get a hold of someone and talk to Mason, old Malibu Mason, her old security guard, and he was like, "Hey, you know why? You know what do you need?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm in Vegas trying to figure out something to do." He's like, "Well, we're in Vegas. Come to the Hard Rock." I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, "All right." I'm like, "Honey, you want to go to the Hard Rock?" She's like, "Yeah." So we went to the Hard Rock, got in, hung out, and it was so much fun. Like that was the only time I've actually hung out with Paris and drank with Paris, you know. And then actually I was like, I don't have any photos with you, Paris. Like I've never taken one photo. And so they're like, get the camera. And so we took a whole shit ton of photos. I think I have them somewhere, but she's a lovely person, and it was a fun, show to work on. And,
and she was very gracious to my wife. We did that big cupcake. Remember the giant cupcake thing?
Yep.
That we did?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And I invited my wife to come with me that day and meet Paris. And my wife was so starstruck, and she was so sweet to my wife. It was so awesome. And then Jerry McKeon, I think he was the showrunner on that particular.
Oh yeah, I
that
remember
run
Jerry.
of it. And we hit it off pretty well. And I think his picture on his Facebook page or somewhere is still that cupcake.
Is it really?
And going something like this with it in between his hands. Hysterical. But.
That's awesome. So do you have any other fun memories from that show? I mean, it was so long ago. I know I had a lot of that are good friends that were production assistants on that, and they had a lot of fun working on that show and wrapping the show, and just being up there in the hills. Matter of fact, Zio Rentals, when they first started, we rented their first trailer and their first generator, which for years he had the trailer in his lots, but I think he, since they've sold it probably to millions of dollars to Sunset Studios, one of the big boys. So, but it was a couple years ago, Mark, just a couple years. So have you done anything else that sticks out? Well, let me back up. I mean, one of the reasons why we came up with this podcast is because we always have crazy stories we talk about. The reason why we came about those crazy stories is because of the camaraderie that we had on the set. And it's just something that I felt with a lot of the same cast crew members on Top Gear that brought us together, that camaraderie. And that's where all these fun times and stories came out of, because of the amount of time that we hung out and enjoyed each other's company. So do you have maybe one project that you worked on over the years that you may have found those friends, those lifelong friends, where you may have had some crazy times behind the scenes?
I think everyone. I've done 55 series pilots, and I think every single experience that I've had on them, I've always walked away with long-term friendships. And I left television news as a news director and former chief photojournalist, traveling the world, covering wars, all that stuff, everything that's the worst part of our world I was covering and
God.
shooting and documenting. And when I left, it was a time where like the internet was taking over, the speed and the reality was like, is this real? Is this not real? And I think those of us in television knew it wasn't real. And so for me, it was like, well, I can see the way of television news and print media going because of the internet, the speed in which we're going to start telling stories and everybody's going to have a phone. I could see it in 2004. And so I jumped over, went to Three Ball, met with Troy Sear and JD Roth and John Foy. And they looked at my resume and I'll never forget it. JD Roth walked into the room where I was talking to Troy. He's like, so Mark, how long have you been doing reality TV? And I looked at him and I went, all my life. He goes, all your life? What? I go, well, since about the age of 14. He goes, what do you mean? I go, because I was a journalist. I was a studio camera operator during the week and then a weekend photojournalist, just beck and call in Las Vegas. And that's how I got my chops. That's how I started my career in television news. And he looked at Troy and said, this is our guy. And I didn't even know what they were considering me for at that point. And then Troy goes, do you remember Danny Bonaduce? And I'm like, yeah, it was on a lunch pail on my lunchbox when I was in elementary school. He's like, well, we're doing a show with him and his wife, and it's about celebrities coming over just to have dinner, and we're going to just follow them. Well, Mike Budzik, do you know Mike Budzik?
Sounds familiar.
He's an audio mixer, great, amazing guy, lifelong friend, one of those guys.
Yep.
He did the pilot, the sizzle, and it was the sizzle reel. And when he came back from doing the sizzle reel, Troy called me and said, our show's taken a completely different spin. Danny and his wife are allowing us to go into their therapy sessions. And I was like, wait, that's never been done. It had never been done before, especially in reality television.
Yeah.
So Troy's like, we're redesigning the show. We're going to shoot a pilot. Are you available? I'm like, well, you've got me on Beauty and the Geek right now as an operator just to fill in the gap of time to make some money since I just moved here. So it's up to you. You can pull me off that or whatever you want to do. And so lo and behold, we finished Beauty and the Geek in November of 2004. We're doing this pilot with this crazy mofo. And I'm confused, right? I'm not used to being on a back lot. So my first day on back lot, I go up to the security gate to check in. And I called my wife. I go, you're not going to believe this. I'm on a back lot. I can't believe I'm here. I was freaking out because I had finally come to LA. I'm walking on a back lot, Manhattan Beach Studios, which was, I think, Raleigh Studios at that time.
Yeah.
And I'm blown away. And they're saying to me, we need you to design a therapy room that we can shoot with 4 cameras in. I'm like, sure, no problem. And I walk away. I'm like, okay, well, what am I doing? And then who do you want as operator? So I brought up a couple people from San Diego that worked in news with me that wanted to make the transition also. Brought them on. Then Maria Rams, her name's Ramsel now, Maria Martin, fantastic female operator. And Chelsea Lowe, amazing Chelsea Lowe, steady op. She was handheld as well. And the 4 of them did the show all on DVX 100s.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
And we chased this fool around LA where you didn't have to they weren't so strong on permits back then.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to pay thousands of dollars to shoot in a bar or shoot in a restaurant. They wanted you to come in for the publicity. Well, as we all know, that's not that way anymore. Everybody got
not here in LA anymore.
No way.
Yeah.
And so those moments, I'll never forget the one time when Danny, and this is just a crazy, every day was crazy. I never knew what I was going to get with Danny because he knew what made good television, right?
Wait, is this Breaking Danny Bonaduce?
Yeah, it was my first show.
Oh, shit. Okay. That's what I thought. Okay. Oh, my. Okay. Whoa.
Yeah, first show out of the gate, and it ended up being a huge success. And it kind of like William Morris is knocking at the door. We want to represent you. And then all that other shows came. But so Danny is fighting with his wife in therapy. He whacks his head himself in the head with a coffee cup. He's got his hands around her neck. That therapy session did not end well. And so for me, it wasn't about we're going to set up our crews to receive you, then we'll cue you. It was never that way with me.
Yeah.
I always anticipated the end of a scene and I would pull one of the operators to go and receive. So it was seamless all the way through, because as you know, when you're in a bubble of yourself or in a situation and you get told, hold on a second, we have to wait,
Derail.
it kills the moment.
Yeah.
So that was my trick. That came from news, and that's what I kept doing. But then for some reason, executives in that were like, well, wait a second, we need to think about this and really what's the best. And I'm like, no, let it go. Just let it go.
Let it
Let's
flow.
cover it.
Just document
It's a
it.
documentary.
Yeah.
So anyways, he gets in his truck. She gets in his little, he had a 300 ZX Nissan sports car at that time. And Gretchen gets in her car. She's going home to be with the kids in Los Feliz. He's just out of control. And he's got this like off-road skateboard. So he pulls into the car, into the front driveway of his house. He's got the skateboard in the back of the truck. I've got crews there. I'm following him. I got a guy in the truck with him. And he pulls in, the gate opens to his place, and his kids are out front. And I'm standing out front. And little Dante, who's probably like, I don't know, 4 years old, 5 years old at the time, he is on the driveway, and Danny starts to kind of chase him with the truck. And I'm like, dude, you realize this is a truck? In my mind, I'm thinking this, and I'm on the radio going, just shoot it. I'll jump in if I have to. That's how it was every day. So he comes in, he fights with Gretchen. We get that on camera. He leaves with his skateboard, takes off his shirt, grabs his skateboard. He walks out with it over his shoulder. He goes down to this like corner liquor store in the middle of Los Feliz. And I think it was on Western, maybe.
Jeez.
And he goes down, he walks in the store, and I'll never forget it. Brian Keenan, who I brought up from San Diego, who's now directing, he goes in with Danny. He's shooting the whole time. I'm watching the monitor. And Danny goes up and grabs a huge bottle of cranberry juice, then goes up to the counter and says to the guy behind the counter, give me that bottle of vodka. He grabs a bottle of vodka, pays for it. We're shooting all this. He walks outside. He sits on the curb. He takes the cranberry, pours out a little bit of it, and then takes the vodka bottle, puts it on top, dumps the whole bottle of vodka into this cranberry juice bottle, and he continues to chug the entire bottle of cranberry juice mixed with vodka. And he gets on his skateboard and rides off. VH1 played that entire scene from the time he rode across through running traffic on a skateboard. He nearly got hit, and we're shooting all this. We're running alongside him down the road.
Oh my gosh!
They played the whole thing. You can find it. It's on the internet.
So
now when you go to a bar, you can ask for a Bonaduce, and they give you a cranberry vodka.
Oh my gosh! That's hilarious. I didn't know you worked on that. That's crazy. So he was, he was a DJ for quite a while, right? This is when he was here, a DJ here.
Star 100, I think it was back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had second season. We had Gene Simmons was in the studio with him on the air. They did this whole bit for the show, but also for the radio. I directed and DP'd it at the same time, which is pretty much most of the shows I did do that. But man, another story. Day one. I have time to tell this.
Oh yeah, yeah.
This is what set it off.
Let's hear it.
So I'm in the house, his house with Gretchen. The kids are there, and it's day one. Day one,
season 2, breaking Danny Bonaduce.
Season one, day one of production. And we don't know what the hell we're going to get because we did the pilot and that was nuts. Okay. So we're like, okay, we're in his house now. I've got China balls because they were the big thing back then. I'm shooting everything with China balls, 3200, but I'm shooting on daylight filters. And then that's how I made it look like film with the DVX 100.
Oh, wow.
Ran everything through DaVinci at a color house. And people were like, what are you doing? Anyways, they were freaking out actually in the control room or in the video village because it didn't look right. Anyways, so I'm standing there next to Maria and we're just kind of chatting and listening to the audio. And Danny walks up and goes, hey, if you don't come with me right now, you're going to miss it. And I'm like, well, What are you doing? Just come with me. Don't ask. I'm like, all right. He's like, come on. So he goes upstairs to this spare bedroom that was his gym. And he had like all this workout equipment. And he's got this lunch pail. And it's a Partridge Family lunch pail.
What?
He pulls it out. He walks into the room. Maria's shooting. It's just Maria and I. There's no audio. And I'm on the radio saying to Troy, who's the EP, I'm like, dude, you watching this? He goes, yeah, just keep doing it. Just follow him. I don't know what he's doing, but just keep doing it. He walks up to an exercise bike, puts the lunch pail on the seat, and he opens up the lid, and Maria's shooting this whole thing, and he pulls out anabolic steroids. And he pulls out a syringe. He fills up the syringe.
Jesus.
And he goes, watch this. And he pulls his pants down. And he goes, bam. And he squirts his butt. Maria and I are standing there. And I'm just like,
Holy crap.
I always stood with my arms crossed. I was just like, okay, this is happening. This is day one.
Wow.
Troy's on the radio going, this is unbelievable. Because he broke federal laws doing that. And we're capturing this. It was illegal anabolic steroids. VH1 played the whole thing.
Of course, yeah.
They loved it. They were just like, how did you get that?
Oh.
So from that point, he started beefing up. I mean, he got cut. I mean,
I remember that. I remember when he was lifting and.
Oh man, we go to an awards banquet for VH1, awards or whatever. And
Big and 01, Big O, whatever the awards. Yeah.
He picked some guy up and threw him over his shoulder, on stage. If you remember that, it was out of control. But the bad part about it was obviously not a great example as a father. But he went to do karate with Isabella, his daughter, and they're doing all this, breaking boards. And Danny's like, watch this. And it didn't break. And they did it again, and he broke. And then he put another one, and he'd do it again. We ended up breaking his hand.
Jesus.
Like really bad. Keep in mind, he's got steroids in him.
Right, yeah.
He drinks like crazy. And by the way, his arteries, we went through a whole procedure of him going to the doctor, finding out why his arteries are clogged. 2 packs of Pall Mall unfiltered reds a day, just smoking them like crazy, if not more.
Wow.
My grandfather did that, and I've never smoked because of my grandfather. Yeah. So I know, and my grandfather died at 65 from lung cancer, so that's why I don't smoke. So it's like watching that, and then after he starts to do that, he starts popping pills. And we're just like, this guy is a train wreck.
Whoa.
The night of Gretchen's birthday party, and by the way, this is all online. You can see all these things I'm talking about.
Yeah, right. It's all televised.
All out there. And so we're with Danny and his 2 friends. One was his cohort on the radio show. Another one was a longtime friend. And Gretchen's got her birthday, and so she's got a bunch of girls at the W Hotel, and they're doing their thing. And I'm standing there, and we're in front of, I think it was called Pig and Whistle.
Oh, the Pig and Whistle. Yeah.
Everybody shot there. So we're shooting there. They're sitting there, drinking, having a good time. It's a guy's night out. We got a limousine, and everything's set up to do something really cool with Danny. And then I've got Cruz, Maria, and another person with Gretchen at the W. So we're sitting there doing our thing, and then he overhears one of the crew members saying something about strippers with Gretchen on the radio. And I'm just like, holy crap, no. That was it. He was like, what? He just freaked out. And he's pacing, he's mad, and then his 2 friends are like, well, she's got strippers, that means we can go to the strip bar too. And they're going off. I mean, it was just an amazing moment. Well, the music in the cut, I think DJ Newer cut that show. You start hearing this music just ramping up the sound, right? And lo and behold, he jumped out of a limo going about 15 miles an hour. The camera operator, Brian Keenan, he jumped out after him. We're chasing him down the street. I'm with Brian. I'm in the limo with Danny. I'm on the radio. None of the other crew is around us. They're trying to find us. Danny's off running around. I'm going to the W. And the 2 guys in the limo are like, oh, Danny, don't do this. And they're like, oh, geez, here we go. He starts pacing on the road, and this car pulls up, a Mustang with the window down. It's like, hey, aren't you Danny Bonaduce? He goes, yeah, can you give me a ride? and he gets in some unknown guy's car
What?
and
That's
takes
crazy.
off. And I'm standing there going, guys, Danny just got in a car and took off. I don't know where he went. So it comes back around. We find out who that guy is. The pass van chased the car down. We get Danny. Now we're on the street in the middle of Hollywood, and Danny's on the phone with Krask, who was the other EP on the show. He's with Gretchen, and he's like, I'm going to raise the roof. I'm going to get there. If there are strippers there, it's your ass. He just goes off on Jeff Krask. And then he gets in my face. And so now we've broken the fourth wall. And from that point forward, we always broke the fourth wall. He's grabbing the camera from operators and reporting, just shooting Gretchen as she's freaking out. I mean, every day of that show. And that was my first show, bro. That was like
man, like welcome to reality. Like you're like, this is what it's going to be like. Like this is what.
That's what happens when you don't interrupt it. When you just let it go. Unfortunately, though, it takes a little bit more time, because if you've got a good development person that has come up with this show, or somebody brings the idea and you've gained that trust, you immediately get the access. Well, if you get the access, why do you want to interrupt what you got the access for?
Yeah, it's so annoying when someone will do that and it breaks up the conversation and it just ruins it. And
I can understand.
Can you say that again?
Pardon?
And then they're like, can you say that again? They're like,
yeah.
Oh, shit, I don't even know what I was saying. Like, really? Like, I was in the moment. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. The OTF and the ITNs.
In the moment.
On the fly and the in the moments. It's like, come on. It's an interview, or you're talking to somebody as they're doing something. Come on.
I know we have acronyms for everything. Man, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad.
Oh, that's funny. Well, that's a pretty good story about Danny. I didn't know any of that. Wow.
Yeah, and it's all in the first episode, the first series. The second one was more about him coming to Jesus and his kids getting older and Gretchen being a rock star. And then we went to, I'll never forget it, we went to, went to Boston, Harvard University, and he got the Hasty Pudding Award.
He did?
And it's given by the Lampoon version of the Hasty Pudding Award.
Okay.
And they have this building that's this long, it's probably as wide as my room, which is like 20 feet. And it's probably like 150 feet long. And unless you're in the Lampoon, nobody goes in this building. Well, they let us in because of Danny.
Really?
Danny goes in the building. We look around. We're blown away by the history. I mean, this is where like Animal House was created. Yeah. I mean, this is like a big deal. It is 22 degrees outside. It's the middle of winter in Boston. There's snow on the ground. Maria's there. All the crew members are there because they flew us out. They don't do that anymore. And he tells us all to leave. And so we all leave. We get a shot of him going in. We shoot a little bit of him. We can't really shoot the place. They don't want to expose it. There's this like big king's chair that the main guy sit. I mean, it was just a crazy frat house atmosphere. So I can't remember who my AD was at that time, but he gets me on the radio. It might have been just Troy telling me, "Are you guys ready?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, we're standing out here freezing our butts off. We're ready. Just let us know. We'll start rolling." So I get the cameras to start rolling. I'm watching the monitor. And the door opens to this place. Mind you, it's 22 degrees outside or colder. And Danny walks out butt naked, no clothes on, literally nothing, everything hanging out. And Maria's shooting this, and the other female operator is shooting this, and we're all kind of going, "What is going on?" And then he takes the cup. He's given the cup, and he takes it and he puts it over his junk. And he's standing out there doing all this waving. And students are walking by going, "What is going on?" We've got cameras on it. I mean, this is the nut that show was. And it just like, that's why everybody was so like, "Man, what a train wreck," but I can't help but watch.
Yeah. That's some of the best reality TV is like that. Those guilty pleasure shows where you're like, "Gosh, I just don't want to watch, but I have to. I have to see what's next."
Right after that was Robin Big, and that was a complete opposite. It was funny. It was heartwarming. It was a good show.
Have you done anything similar to Danny Bonaduce? Anything crazy like that? Do you think, or was that like your
Two
first
Corey,
one? And what's that?
two Corys, the two Corys with Corey Haim and Corey
Oh,
Feldman.
oh wow!
That was
Oh boy!
that was pretty crazy as well, because Corey Haim was, he's gone now, and not because of his drug use, but he had a heart murmur, passed away from that, taking care of his mom who had cancer. We got incredibly close on that show because he was clean from Canada. He got here. He busted his thumb in the car door that we had gotten him an H3 to drive while I was in, because he's a Canadian citizen. So we had to provide a car for him. And when he did that to his thumb, he broke his thumb. He slammed it in the car door on purpose. And nobody got it on camera. He did that all on his own. And it was before we even started on day one. Oh. And then the pharmaceuticals, the pot, all that stuff started coming into play. And it was everything I could do to keep him off of that. And kind of just like, dude, you got to dump that down the toilet. And then we'd show up to set, and I'll never forget it. It was raining one day. We showed up to set, and I go upstairs to see how he's doing. We lived in a house above Sunset Plaza. And we get up there, and the road's like this. And again, this is all on camera, by the way. Again, wow. Broke the fourth wall. Jeez. And I go inside, and we're supposed to do driving shots around Hollywood, and it's raining outside. And I go up there, and he's just not in any condition to go. And so I called Troy, and I said, I'm shutting down this side of the show, because we had a whole nother crew that was doing Corey Feldman, and they were butting heads the whole time. They were not that close anymore. and so I got Haim, because of my experience with Danny, I think, just being able to be a calm force in the room and get what we needed to get done, even though. And it was kind of the same thing with Corey. But Corey was interesting. I mean, it was interesting because I was trusted to do a lot more. Like, we had this one hilltop spot that overlooked all of Hollywood. In fact, I've got pictures of it, which I'll share. And he and I would just go up there and talk. And I'd always make sure a camera was on it, or I'd just get shots of him kind of just contemplating his life in the moments where he was clear. Mm-hmm. And then, it would unravel and go the opposite direction. They shot the second version of Lost Boys, and they did that out at Zuma Beach, and we covered that, but he wouldn't come out of his trailer.
I didn't even know they did a second version.
Yeah, they did. Well, they got it finished, but his part in it was very lackluster because he wasn't all there. He wasn't present, and they couldn't get him out of the trailer. So they sent me in. So here I am getting mic'd up, go in the trailer, camera shooting the door on the trailer after I go in, and you hear me talking him off the ledge and just saying, dude, just go do this and we're out of here. And the director's like, tell that guy to get him out of the trailer. It's like, Jesus. It was so nuts. Stuff that happened back then just wouldn't even happen today.
Yeah, it's a different era. I mean, you're right. Everything's much different.
Everything.
And I talk about that, like risk assessment. Some of the shit that we used to get away with doing was, it was criminal. We're here to talk about it now, but that stuff wouldn't fly today. No, half of it
at all.
Oh, that's sad. Oh, Corey, the two Corys.
The positive thing is, I think by the end of that show, he had gotten roles on quite a few more smaller budget films and cleaned up. And his mom, unfortunately, was very sick, and he was able to come alongside her and provide for her in her last days. And but as she was expiring, he passed away from a heart murmur, and that was that. But yeah, tragic story. But there's good stories too. There's fun stuff that I've done as well. So it's not all been that crazy. I think that was the start of it.
Have you? I know you've done some car stuff, some commercials. Have you done anything fun with these cars that you can talk about?
Yeah, we did. I did a show called the Try Guys. They were. They still are. They just got another project that's on YouTube. But BuzzFeed, Shai Sutherland, amazing producer. She's just awesome. She was asked to do a show called Squad Wars, and very big budget. It was like, it was a couple, I think like $500,000 per episode, 10 episodes.
For YouTube show?
Yeah. And we had the four try guys. And these are the guys that wanted to try things like, what's it like to give birth? And so they set up with a doctor all these electrodes and the pain, and they went through the process of birth for their YouTube channel. And they were huge. They still are pretty big. But I think they lost one of them for family because they had a kid, and the wife probably said, don't do that crazy stuff anymore.
Yeah, it's time to stop.
But I remember the finale was there were 3 challenges in every episode. The people that were competing against each other, there were 4. So 2 teams of 2 and 3 people from old school reality shows. And then the 4th was one of the try guys. Or no, 2 teams of 2 teams of 1, and then 2 of the try guys came on. And the finale, they had to go through 3 challenges. And on this finale, there was a stunt finale, a music video finale, and a wrestling finale. And we shot the whole thing out at this amazing, like old school studio and sound stage out in Simi Valley. I'll never forget this place. It was dialed. They had 2 sound stages, one huge sound stage with a moving truss on motors that you could light up, put what you want, put it back up, focus, you were good. Then another sound stage was just a wall of green that you could, same thing, lights hanging, space lights, the whole bit. And so we walk into this place on the Scout and like, so Mark, what do you want to do? And I'm sorry, that part of the expectation of directing is something that always hits me like a brick wall. Because when I think of directing, it's like coverage, making sure, get 2 eyes that we're anticipating what an idiot's going to do next. So you capture it. Not, how do you want to build this out? What do you see creatively? And so I embraced it. And by the time I did Squad Wars, I got it. I think when I did Glee Project, I think that's when I really got it, because they were really depending on me to design and implement, work with with your set builders on how to recreate the classrooms on the Glee show, or in this case, how to take an empty soundstage and make it look like a WWF wrestling arena. And you had the money to do it, which was awesome. And I have a huge amount of experience in covering boxing and WWF. So I was like, okay, well, let's put the box over there, fill it with smoke, little ramp. We'll put the people in there, fill it up. They'll open it up. There'll be a blast of light. They'll come down the ramp. They'll jump up on this ring, and they'll do their bit. And let's have an old school mic that comes out of the sky, which basically was a guy with an audio cable just doing this. And then we're just going to put one big box light over the ring, and that's it. So we get all the crazy shadows. And then they're like, well, we have an audience too. Oh, we're going to fill this? We're actually going to pay people to come and sit and watch this? And like, yeah, why not? So we had bleachers on 3 of the walls.
Wow.
Steady cam, 5 camera. I'm like, what?
Holy crap. That's amazing.
That was just one. And the next one was, we're going to do a music video challenge. So that was one challenge, the boxing, and it was hysterical. It was fun. Then we did the next challenge, and it was a music video on a beach. We're going to fill the soundstage with sand from a beach. We're actually going to go out and pick up a truck load of sand, dump it in the soundstage, and we're going to put beach chairs and stuff, and they're going to make a music video, both teams, and they compete, whoever gets the best music video, right? I'm like, okay. And then they're like, but we need some footage for the green wall. We need to see the ocean with a little bit of the beach in the foreground, but we can shift it if we don't need the beach. And like, where are we going to get that? I'm like, I'll go shoot it. So I grabbed the camera and I went and shot it. And there's like 140, 150 people on the crew on this show. It was crazy.
That's huge.
Gaffers, the whole bit. I'm DPing and directing again. So then the last challenge was a stunt challenge. So there was a chase. These 2 guys come in, and there's security team and bad guy team. One member of each of the teams that are competing are a bad guy and a security guy. The other 2 are try guys. So the security guys catch the bad guys inside the control room, which we made look like a computer tech room, and they're stealing some digital stuff, and a chase starts. And there's this chase through this whole like maze that's lit, and we're chasing them with a steady cam, and there's handhelds I've got positioned. Then we hold them, repo, they go through a warehouse, then they end up on the roof, they jump off the roof, they fall into a bag, they get up from that bag, they run downstairs, they go to this loading dock, they slide under a door that's coming down, they go into a pit. By the way, this is the stuff I had to design.
Wow, of course. You're creative, of course. Yeah.
The game people helped. I'm not going to take I don't want to take all the credit. They helped a lot. They go down into where the semi-truck's back in the pit on the other side of this big roll-up door. The chase goes out. Security guards are still chasing them. The bad guys get in a car. They take off in the car through the parking lot, a little chase, and then they hit a ramp. And as they go up the ramp, they go through a fake wall, and it explodes.
What? That's awesome.
So that was my car.
Nice. Dude, that sounds like a lot of fun. I love shit like that. Clearly on Top Gear, we did a lot of stunts like that, and we'd break it, break them apart. And, it's usually a 2 to 3 day shoot because there's so many scenes you have to shoot. And a lot for the layman person that doesn't understand what we do in production. That's what we do is when you see a scene of a chase scene, that's all just strung out from like multiple days of filming each stunt. So,
one day.
But there's what you did in one day? Wow, that's a lot of setups. That's a lot of setups.
Not the WWF and the music; those are all each one.
But
day.
all the stunt stuff, all the stunt stuff is one day. Wow, that's impressive.
One day.
Wow,
one day. It was, and that I think that's what I took away from covering things in the real, anticipating what people are doing next. You have to think fast, and you have to anticipate yourself what you would do next. And so for me, it was like, all right, this is what you want to do. This is where you want to do it. You want to have somebody chase through this area, jump off a roof, drive a car through a wall, explosion, chase through the alcoves, catacombs of a control room. All right, well, let me walk it. Let me think about it. And then the next thing you know, you're standing there doing it, and it was so much fun. I'll never forget that experience. And every episode was like that. And it was always on the fly. You'd show up. Everything that you had in your head, you're thinking, oh, I got this. It's going to be great. You get there, and there's a major wrench thrown into it every time, and you got to work around that.
Yeah,
whether it's the weather or something doesn't exist that you thought existed, whatever it was. It's crazy.
Mark, that's what makes a great director like yourself is being able to come up with better solutions on the fly and keep moving forward. Because in our industry, we don't have the luxury of not moving forward because time is money and the clock keeps ticking. So it's just a testament of what a great director you are to be able to come on the day and switch things up and probably make it just as better as it was before.
Not always.
Not always, but it's hit and miss. It's hit and miss. You're always trying to throw stuff at the dartboard, but
Well, that's kind of why I don't do competition reality.
Yeah,
I have done it.
A challenge, right?
It's slower.
It's
so slow.
What shows the challenge? MTV's challenge?
Well, I did a challenge. That was what do they call that? A pod slam or something. They've got a name for that. And we shot, I don't know if you've seen that, but Podbuster is what it's called. I was hired. They said, we're giving you universal backlot. You don't have to worry about unions unless you want to borrow something from the backlot. I'm on Universal where I took the little tram tour as a kid and as an adult. You're giving it to me? What? And then the same thing. It's like, well, we have this challenge. We want to run down the row homes. We want to jump through a glass window. We want to end up on top of the tower that was used in Back to the Future with the clock. I'm like, how am I even here?
Cool. That's so cool.
How am I even here?
Yeah.
And then, by the way, you can have a jib arm. You can have 6 of your best guys. And we're going to do this all in one shot. And what do? I'm like, well, can we have a tram with like a bunch of people on it going through as we're doing the show, and we'll put cameras on the tram of them watching and also their point of view? That's a great idea.
Oh, that's
so they
awesome,
hire a bunch of people and throw them on the tram. And I'm just like, all right, let's do this. So we rehearsed because it was all made up. It was just to promote the show. And it ended up being, I think it's like a 8 or 9 minute little podcast, pod buster or whatever. And man, that was fun. And it went
Oh,
all
that's
the
really
way
cool.
through, but I had to bunny hop cruise. It was like the crews that were inside the row homes as they're running through looking for bolt cutters to cut open this garbage can, this dumpster to get another clue that's chained up. Soon as they get out, receive the two inside, go ahead to the next one where they're jumping through a window. When they're done at the dumpster, we've got one of them shooting them, coming at them. Those two go around the back by the gas station and where Marty McFly and, the diner.
Uh-huh.
They go and get up on the roof. And then, by the way, once they get to the roof, they have to get on this cable and they have to do basically a cable run hanging all the way down to the final. And whoever gets down to the bottom wins the game. And it was just like, okay, how are we going to do this? We did it. It was so much fun. It was a single day shoot again. And that included rehearsing, just scouting, thinking about it, and doing it. But man, yeah, I think about that now. I'm just like, okay.
I love coming up with stuff like that on the fly or just on the day and come up with. I'm logistics. I love logistics and coming up with plans and seeing how, like what you mentioned, leapfrogging, like just knowing like your assets and what you have and what you have to work with, and knowing it's kind of like chess. It's like chess. It's like moving those pieces. Positioning yourself for being efficient, so that way you can finish. Actually, that's kind of like what we did. I for a hot minute I worked on the railroad. I drove freight trains. I was a conductor, a switchman.
That's like every guy's dream.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was a lifetime ago. It was before I did all this stuff. But one of the things we did is when you get a train list and you would have to dissect it or build a train, it's not easy just picking up these pieces. So you'd look at a list of cars and the different tracks, and you'd have to think, okay, what's the most efficient way to move these cars so that way I can build this train? And I think that's what I think helps me in this industry is moving people, like you said, leapfrogging, seeing it with not a lot of people can see it, and knowing where you can move those assets. That way you can seamlessly keep moving forward. And I love that stuff.
Yeah. I think another thing that helped me a lot too was the fact that I spent probably 10,000 hours shooting out of helicopters, literally either sitting on the skid,
old school,
in a harness, or sitting in the seat in a harness, or running a FLIR or a Westcam or some kind of gimbal head. And I was training people when I was in news at the ABC affiliate in San Diego, KGTV Channel 10, and I couldn't be out of the helicopter when there was something, a weather shot, and I'd get up with the pilot was Kyle, and he flew Sky 10, and we would fly like 20 feet over the ocean down the coast. And I would as we're going forward, I would grab something behind us so that you get that shift in the background, or we'd fly over Miramar, and we would just be up doing a shot, and I would push in on the pilot so tight, and I just follow the jet, and then I'd pull out, and the background would be shifting, and people would go, "How'd you get that shot?" It's like, well, it's a helicopter.
Yeah.
It's like that was fun. So when I got into drones, which I think I was one of the first drone ops to bring one on a show, and I was flying it inside. So when you had this reveal of contestants walking out, I was DPing, I think it was a wood crafting show I did. And I'd said to the director, Peter Ney, I said, "You want me to fly my drone?" Because he was starting to get into drones. Drones really hadn't been used a lot like they are now.
Yeah.
And I flew my old Phantom. I think it was like a Phantom 2. It's like the second version.
Yeah.
And I had a GoPro on it, but I had taken off the lens that the GoPro came with and put on a cinema lens that you could actually focus. And it gave you a little bit of bokeh, which was quite challenging, I must say. So I'd always go wide and focus infinity. And then the contestants would come in. Instead of having a jib, I would just get these crazy shots that a jib couldn't get. And they loved it. But the thing that was so great about drones was it gave me the perspective of always looking down. So when I walk into a room, if I'm going on a scout, I'll immediately go to the corner of the room and I'll look at it. And I don't need to take pictures. I go back and I draw out a plot based on what I saw, but I always, plots are from above, right?
Yeah.
I've always been gifted, I guess, with that perspective of being able to remember where all the pieces were, draw it out, and then start to play with your players and see where they're all at, where your cameras are for coverage, where your people are. It's crazy.
That's pretty impressive. Yeah.
Yeah. So like you with the trains, it was like me with drones or with flying in helicopters. You just start to see things differently.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to. I mean, if not, you're gonna. I mean, at least what I was doing is going to take you forever. And we wanted to get our stuff done so we can get out of there. I mean,
Yeah.
who wants to play with rail cars all day? It's not like every childhood's dream.
Be my dream. Jeez, man, that's crazy.
Oh yeah, those are fun. Well, hey, I just want to thank you for coming on the podcast, Mark.
Hope I gave you enough content.
No, you totally did. It's awesome. I really appreciate it. And I want to thank everyone else for checking this out. I want to make sure you all go to our website at gofordonny.com. Mark, this will not only be an audio podcast, but this will also be a YouTube video podcast. So don't forget to come to our website. You can click there. You can go to YouTube, gofordonny.com, and you can check out our channel. And what's coming up next, Go for Donny, switch to channel 2, where I'll be asking Mark some more questions. So thank you all for listening, you guys. Please follow GFD and subscribe to our podcast so we can grow an audience. And what I always like to say, Mark, is HTFU. HTFU. And if you don't know what it is, look it up, guys. You'll love it. But thanks, Mark. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Production for Donny.
Go for Donny. Locations for Donny. Go for Donny.
Habitat for Donny.
Go for Donny. Hey Donny, what the hell are they doing?